Yeah, I'm Dave. Yeah, a couple months ago, I started doing some videos on why this evangelical Christian supports Donald Trump. I kind of put the kibosh on it because of the COVID-19 thing. And then I kind of figured out that the leftists in the media and in our government would even use the COVID-19 pandemic for political purposes. And so I felt like I needed to speak out against some of the things that are going on. So the leftists in our government are in no hurry to open up our economy because higher unemployment and dependency advances their socialist agenda and may help them in the 2020 elections, much like the Russian collusion delusion helped them in the 2018 midterms. The leftist elites in the media, on the other hand, they empower the leftists in the government because they have been educated in universities that sing the praises of Karl Marx and socialism. This is particularly disturbing since, according to Russian revolutionary and mass murderer Vladimir Lenin, the goal of socialism is communism. It is obvious at this point that the mainstream media doesn't care about the truth. They only care about their agenda, and they have taken to purposely lying in the hope that more Americans will believe their lies and not the truth. It's basically a numbers game. Apart from a conscious decision to lie, how else could you explain the media pushing the Russian collusion farce that helped the Democrats pick up seats in the 2018 midterm election? Or how about the media's intense focus on the Trump impeachment at the expense of the looming COVID-19 threat? And let's not forget the way the Democrats and the media attacked Justice Kavanaugh over totally unsubstantiated allegations versus how they were handling the allegations against Joe Biden. Allegations which seem to have some corroboration. But let's get back to COVID-19 and the left's disturbing hypocrisy and some questionable decision making. My question is, why would blue state government leaders send COVID-19 patients to nursing homes? And the only answers that I have seem to be gross incompetence, wanting to increase the death toll for political purposes, or state-ordered euthanasia. Second question I have is, why would blue state government leaders insist on draconian lockdown measures and then violate their own orders to go to the gym and get their hair done? And I don't really have an answer for that, except for they want to control the people and they think they're above the people instead of servants of the people. That's the only thing I can come up with there. Another question would be, why would CNN media personality, I wouldn't call him a journalist, that would be too kind, Chris Cuomo, call people who are violating draconian lockdown measures fools? He said, fools, fools. Anyhow, and then he violates the lockdown after testing positive for COVID-19. It seems obvious that his goal is to help leftist leaders control the masses for some nefarious purpose that I really don't understand. But something is just not right here. I'm not a scientist, but let's put this in perspective. The media wants to point out that the United States has way more COVID cases than other countries, but they fail to put this in context. You would have to add up the populations of the United Kingdom, Spain, Italy, France, and Germany to get to 324 million people, which is about 6 million people less than the United States. Compared to those five countries in the United States, compared to those five countries, the United States has diagnosed around 340,000 more cases. It could be that the United States has done more testing, or it may be that we have more cases. But when you consider that the GDP of the United States is more than all 27 countries in the European Union combined, that means we have a lot more guys flying around, or girls, ladies, flying around the world for business purposes, and that might be one of the reasons why we have a few more cases than Europe. The United States has 82,000 deaths compared to 126,000 deaths in those five countries. That correlates to a mortality rate of 38 per 100,000 in Europe and 25 per 100,000 in the United States. So at this point, the mortality rate in the United States is around 33% less than it is in those five countries. Another thing to consider is the Swedish model for handling the COVID-19 pandemic. So far, Sweden's mortality rate has been 34 for 100,000 people versus the 38 deaths per 100,000 people mentioned earlier in the five countries of the United Kingdom, Spain, Italy, France, and Germany. So the Swedish mortality rate is more than the United States, but less than those five European countries. But the interesting thing about Sweden is that they have avoided a total lockdown of their society. Just reading a little bit here, it says The country's primary schools have remained open. Restaurants too, though congregating at the bars discouraged and tables are set farther apart. Those who can are encouraged to work from home, but nightclubs can operate so long as the manager ensures that people keep at arm's length from one another. The Swedes brokered a different deal than the rest of the world. Citizens take individual responsibility for social distancing, and the government keeps most of society functioning. What an idea. The left wants to use everything they can to divide us. They'll use race, gender, sexual orientation, social class. They'll pit atheists against people of faith. And they're using COVID-19 and the fear that comes with it too. They want to pit those that can work from home and are doing okay for now against those that need to get back to work and those that want to try to save their small businesses. The mainstream media has been has been wrong about almost every major issue for the last 5 or 6 years. Why should we think they are right in their handling of COVID-19? Or that they even know what the right thing is at this point? I think we definitely need to open our country back up. I don't think we should live in fear. We need to have the courage to look beyond any fears and realize the need to give future generations the opportunity to provide for their children and their grandchildren. High-risk people can still stay home. We can still social distance. But destroying the ability to feed our families because we don't have the courage to do the right thing is really not an option for me. I'm going to be 60 on May 29th, so I'm just weeks away from being one of those people that is considered high risk, over 60. And I hope if I make it to 70 or 80 and there's another pandemic, God forbid, that I still have the courage to say that I think life should go on for my children and my grandchildren instead of giving into fear. I realize that there's some people that are high risk. They can stay home, but we got to open the economy up. It's not about capitalism or greed. It's about survival. It's about being we don't want to be a third world country. And I don't understand why leftists would rather be in charge of a third world country than share power in a first world country. But that's the way they are. And you know what? We got to get smart. We got to pay attention. The media is on the left, 90% of it. And that's a problem because that is indoctrination. So we need to wake up, pay attention, and we need to vote. And unfortunately, it's not about Republican or Democrat, but the Democrats have been taken over by the leftists. And a vote for Democrats is a vote for socialism, global socialism, and communism. Because they'll start out with socialism, but once things start tanking, they're going to say we just need a little more control, and that's communism. So let's just say no. Let's be smart. Let's be brave. Thanks for listening.